Welcome to Sprinkle with Hope and your host Shane. And today we have a special guest, Aubree Nichols. She talks a lot about self-love, self-care, self-awareness. She has a great energy about her. So hopefully you tune in and really listen to what she's saying.
Yeah, I think, Aubree brought her real self, and, she didn't hide anything. She didn't hold anything back. She let it out. And that's really what we should all be, is our real, true, honest self to ourselves and to others. So enjoy this podcast because me and Shane sure enjoyed it.
Welcome to the Sprinkled with Hope podcast.
This is Jason. And this is Shane.
And it's podcast time.
Welcome everybody to our podcast. We have an awesome guest, Aubree Nichols. She is a self-love advocate and an author and just a lot of energy. So welcome to our podcast, Aubree.
Yeah, thank you. So great to be here. It's a great way to start the last day of the week.
It is. Yes, it is. So for everybody listening, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, where should I start? Are we? Can I go deep very quickly?
You can
Yes, go as deep as you want.
Well, the first thing you should know about me, to anyone who's listening, is that I do not like small talk. And for me and where I am right now in my journey and sort of why I started sharing my story with the world is I was a woman who just spent a lifetime of filling her insides with the outsides. At 6 years old, I looked down at my thighs in the kindergarten bathroom and something went through my brain and I thought, those are too big. Those are too fat. And, from there, it was just like dancing with the eating disorders. I was a gymnast, a dancer, a competitive swimmer. It was like I jumped tracks from that to sort of like drug and alcohol, to like the unavailable men, and finally the last straw at 35 years old, I walked down, after sort of piecing together a semblance of a life, living in New York City, working at an ad agency, spending all my rent money on my balayage hair color, I walked down the aisle to a man who had everything that I thought I couldn't provide for myself. And I thought that I could hand over my emptiness to him, to that hole in my heart, and that I would finally be enough. And really 3 years into the marriage, I had a home in the Berkshires. I had a huge loft in Soho. A contemporary art gallery, dripping in pink diamonds, all of the things that as growing up in Texas, I thought that I should want and I thought should make me happy. And I was the most miserable version of myself, like a shell. I could not even look at myself in the mirror.
Yeah, so that I'm sure that was very difficult for you because you're on the outside, you have everything you think you want, but on the inside, you're almost dying, right? It's something that's consuming you and saying, wait, I don't want this stuff.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's like the things, they were things really that I was programmed, and I think many of us women and men are, to think that should fulfill me. And I was really looking for that connection outside of myself. And what I know, now, really just learning, still, as of yesterday, connecting with myself is the way to give myself that love that I've been looking for outside of myself.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. You know what? It's really, I'm just going to close this window.
No problem. So let's build on that because you started by saying, I don't like small talk. So let's dive a little bit deeper into that.
Yeah.
You talk about loving yourself, and what are some tips on how are you successful doing that? What things have you found to be successful that you do to adapt that self-love?
I just have to say, I just almost was brought to tears because I I love these conversations because it's such an evolving self-love journey. First of all, if you're listening, it doesn't start with self-love. It starts with self-acceptance. And for me, at the very beginning of it, it was like, can you accept who you are? Like, and the tools, the way that I was able to gain that self-acceptance is with meditation. So being able to sit in silence with my own thoughts and understanding that my thoughts are very separate from me. There are things that come and go. But if I start to believe them as truth, which I did, and all these programs that were running since very young, like you're not enough, you need to be perfect, you can do better, you have to earn love, all of those things, then I start to feel a certain way. So those thoughts become emotions, those emotions become behaviors, and then, 30 years later, I've got a life that's constructed based on falsities or thoughts that didn't serve me. So another way that I was able to separate myself from the thoughts and gain self-acceptance is by journaling. So again, putting the thoughts that I was thinking outside of my head onto a page. And then what is really powerful through journaling is being able to write statements, like intention statements in the present tense. So, body acceptance has been the hardest part for me. But, through writing statements like, I love and nourish my body. Like, I am so happy and grateful that I am loving and nourishing my body every day. It allowed me to feed my body. It allowed me to, get more comfortable with my body. And, then there's self-like. Then you start to really like yourself once you accept yourself. And then there's, the advanced stuff, which is really self-love. And self-love is very different from self-care. And this is how I think of it is, self-care is taking care of your physical, your spiritual, your financial needs, going to get the mani-pedi, making sure your bank account is, it's sorted out, all of those things, right? But self-love is not really about those things at all. It's all about tending to your emotional self. So when I'm asking myself, oh man, what is best for my emotional well-being? So then my bank account's balanced. Then then I don't go down to zero. Then I'm eating nourishing foods. Because when I'm really tending to the soul, into my, the inner child and my beloved, as I call her, then all of the other things are sorted out. Then I'm not texting back guys who don't treat me very nicely.
Yeah.
The foundation, the relationship that I have and that we have with ourselves, I believe, sets the tone for everything in your life.
I totally agree with that.
100%.
Completely agree.
100%. I really think, and I like the way that you put it, where, you start with acceptance, right? Your self-acceptance, I think, is absolutely crucial. And you hit the nail on the head, because I think we do think about self-love sometimes, but do we really accept ourselves? I mean, there is that difference, right? And I love the way that you put it. It was awesome. It was awesome. And I can see that, you're radiating from yourself, that you have that within yourself. And I think when we truly believe it, we are expelling that outwardly, right? That's the outward expression of what we feel inside.
I think that's, you're so right. I'm so glad that it resonated. And, I shared with you sort of before we press record, is that I just had moved into a place and I've been here less than a week. And, I think part of that radiating and is really packing up my stuff after 20 years in New York, when I really moved there for the nightlife. And then after I got sober, it's and I'm really just an outdoorsy, bike ridey, sunshine and coffee beach girl, and I got a place 2 blocks from the beach. I woke up a little bit in a funk and I said, hey girl, go get on your bike, get some of those endorphins going, and I think I have to honor who I am. Like, so at 43, who I am is like going out to the beach, like eating tacos, talking to strangers. It's pretty relaxed and easy. But it was only until I really got to really intimate with myself through those self-acceptance, self-like, self-love, and I was able to honor who I am as a soul. Like, a sensitive empath, I need to get in the ocean every day. I'm taking on all of this stuff to be cleansed, right?
Yeah.
And so just really honoring who I am and then aligning my actions and getting this place near the water. And I think that's part of like being able to be your true self. And then from there, all the other things will come to you.
Yeah.
But,
Something you said that Jason and I talk a lot about is action. So you mentioned that you woke up this morning. It might have been a bad day, but you made a choice to change that right away. Mm-hmm. Jumping on your bike and going for a bike ride and really being who you are and changing likely the trajectory of your day. So instead of saying, yeah, this really is a bad day, you changed it completely by one action. You took an action. Yeah. I
think that's huge. Yeah. I mean, the morning has been huge, especially post-COVID. Like I've been getting up. No, it's really big because I've been like, oh, I'm tired. So I've been hitting the floor every morning. And so I do 11 push-ups as soon as I wake up.
Nice.
And I mean, just to start the like good morning machine going, and I'm trying to like tighten up my sleep hygiene and put the screens down, and because it feels good to feel good.
It does.
Right?
It really
absolutely does.
Yeah. So something I was just glancing through your website, and I know Jason and I are big on affirmations, telling ourselves certain things every day. And one of the things that I mentioned in one of our previous podcasts is we have the power within us to do everything we need to right now. So we have all that power within us. And your website mentioned something like that. Everything we have is within us right now. Mm-hmm. Can you expound on that? What does that really mean to you?
To me, well, I think it goes back to like the meditation. It's just like I have the answers about like what is right for me inside of me. So, for someone like me, it's like I want to connect. I want someone else to sort of co-sign the way I'm doing my life or my approach to things, because I don't know, because I don't have to be fully responsible for it, or I don't want to, set a boundary and say, this is who I am, this is who I'm not. Or, for example, there's this program I'm working on, and it's like, I'm like kind of half-hearted, want to move forward with it, frankly, because I'm working on my book and I don't want to build alone. So if I had a partner, I want collaboration in my life. I need to be surrounded by people and smart people, and, building two things is just, I don't want to delude myself. It's taxing. Yeah, I still gotta I've got to be out there so I can like run into my king. So I just got to make sure that I'm tapping in. I'm being honest with myself. Right. And, I think that's what I mean. It's like, and the power is inside of me. And I guess where I find the power is like in my second chakra, and I do a lot of breath work. And the power is something that I've been kind of afraid of, honestly, because my power is energy. It's big. It's a big energy, but that energy can really be positive and lovely and smiley. But it's also like, as an artist, it can get really low. It can get really dark. It can get not so ugly. Pretty ugly. And so embracing all of that power is really where I am right now. And it's liberating to be able to say, like, I don't, you run into that guy in the street. He's like, you're a lot prettier if you smile. And you're like, well, maybe I'm not happy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Great point.
That's a great point.
Or maybe I'm not put on that earth to be your decor.
Right.
You know, I mean, that's kind of like,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
so like tapping into all of that. And I realized that power is just like keep going on. It's like that, you know, if I deny myself the anger and the disappointment and the sadness, then I really am going to limit my creative output. And so I'm really just re-meeting that challenge again as I move into my new place and start to get really settled.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, yeah.
Yeah. I love that. I love, yeah, it's so true. So what are you most excited about in your life right now? What's the most exciting thing happening in Aubree's life?
I would say just getting my, you know, after a year of like living nomadically and jumping coast and figuring out that LA and where I am is right for me, just getting my palace set up and really I realized that no one is going to save me, right? So like building all the things that I want my king to bring to the party, and like providing them for myself, like becoming fully creatively expressed. Like I found in my life that I was dating all these like really successful writers. And I was like, you're not that great as a person, but you do have a great writing career. Oh, it's because that's something that I want to embody and bring into my life. So I'm trying to like date someone and so I check that box. And so what I'm really working on sort of in the physical world is building out my space to support like my fullest expression, right? And then sort of in the spiritual world, what I'm working on is giving all of that goodness and abundance to myself because I can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's really
And because
cool.
I'm worth it.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
And because the person who I want to be with, surely I don't want them living half a life right now until they meet me. That's not going to be attractive. Like I want them to be like out there. And you know, when you get a certain age, it's like interesting people are really interesting, you know, when they've got stories and places and it's, so.
Yeah. So Jason and I again say this every time. You're worth it. You're amazing. So we're talking about you. We're talking about everybody that hears this podcast. And we really believe that. We think everybody is unique in their own way. But they're worth so much more than they think. I think sometimes our mind holds us back from moving forward. And so, yeah, I think that's awesome that you're
The mind will just, it's going to go through the Rolodex of what's happened in the past and take an experience and just slap a label on it. Oh, because the mind wants to make you feel safe, right?
Right.
So, and that's what it's like, so that's why meditation and the journaling is so great because you can start to see the way your mind works and be the witness. So it's like I'm really witnessing like, you know, what my head is saying and inviting myself to come to the present moment, especially in dating, because I do have a lot of bad and negative experiences with men. But P.S. they were from when I was of a different vibration. I was a different person. I was freaking drunk out of my gourd, you know. And so to slap a label based on like who this guy is, and you know, I don't know, maybe he moves his hand a certain way. Maybe for me it's this. My ex used to do this hand crossing, this arm crossing.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're closed, you're reserved, you're only going to want to sit in chairs, you're not going to want to snuggle with me, you're going to be like, you know, it's just like, like, maybe he's just like, got to chill or something. Like,
That is awesome.
I love it.
That's awesome.
Maybe you say, Aubree, do you want my sweater? Like, I mean, you know what I mean? Do you see, it's like, there's so many assumptions that like I'm making, and it's like, I'm not bad for making those assumptions. I'm wanting to keep myself safe, but I just by inviting myself to like come into the present moment,
Yeah.
it's kind of, there's a lot of unknown here, but I bet that there's a lot of good.
Yeah, I love how you put that too, because I think sometimes we judge a person or a situation based on what they're doing or how they're acting or whatever, and you know, maybe they are this cold, maybe that's, you know, who knows? Like, we don't know. Maybe they're really struggling and with their self, and that's how, you know, they're trying to protect themselves by doing that. We don't know. I mean, that is a defense mechanism, right? That, you know, when you do close yourself off, you fold your arms, you're closing yourself off, and you're not wanting to be vulnerable, which I've talked about a couple of times in other podcasts that we've done. But vulnerability and being vulnerable is a hard thing to do. And so to open yourself up to others, and really we shouldn't judge that other person, and we should just see them for who they are, because they have worth. Everybody has worth, right?
That's right. Well, and then also what I've learned by coaching, I've worked with these two coaches over COVID, because like all of us, stuff got a little crazy. That's when you're like, whoa, I thought my mind was intense, but this is really getting a little too out of hand. So what I worked on is like conscious communication. So I have the tools to say, hi, person who we're having coffee with or whatever. Oh, you know, part of me feels like that you're disinterested in or closed. And the story I'm making up is that your arms are, you know, your arms are crossed, and it's reminding me of my ex, and he was like this. And so I'm making up the story that you are reserved and closed and aren't going to be available to me. So what's it like for you? And so just, you know, being able to disarm a situation with like a voice, my tools, something, it's so powerful.
Yeah.
Oh, it is.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes.
For sure.
Like, yeah, I mean, obviously, you know, depending on your comfortability, and it's like how you want to approach that. But I mean, this is a definite side note, but in France, when prostitutes are open for business, they will stand against the walls like this.
Interesting.
So I don't know if that's going to be cut out of the podcast.
No, we don't.
But it is an interesting note. So you just never know. You just never know, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That is very, very interesting. You know, the same thing in different countries is a different thing. So
Right.
That's really interesting. So we have something that we've come up with that we call the double down dose.
All right.
So Aubree, of course, we like hope. Our podcast is called Sprinkle with Hope, but I'm interested to know what you or how you view hope. What does it mean to you?
It means possibility. And it means seeing the light, even if you're immersed in darkness. Yeah.
That's really good.
That is really good. Simple explanation. It doesn't really need any more than that, I don't think. So the other question is one that I have, and I always like to kind of finish off with this. But what does love mean to you? What is that? What is the definition of love? How would you define it? What does it mean to you in your life?
For me, love is an energy where there's the absence of fear. Love is abundant. That's the first thing. There's no shortage of it. able to be given freely, and it's deserved. All humans deserve love. You don't have to earn it. Yeah, I think love is available to all of us, and I think that the more that love begets love, right? It's like, so there is this idea that there's just this like finite amount of it, or
Right.
But I think the more love that you bring into your life, specifically to yourself, and no, it's not selfish, that it's just, it will radiate around you and sort of like envelop you. And then you look up and your whole life is like loving and smiley and positive,
Yeah, that's really good.
That is really good.
We certainly have enjoyed this discussion. I think, like you, we don't really like the small talk. We like to dig deeper, go on different levels, and I've really enjoyed your insight. I think you have some great things to share to the world. So how do our listeners, how do they find you? What are some ways that they can find you?
So you can definitely find me on Instagram, which is like the one-stop shop with my website, and I'll serve up self-love with all the realness. It's definitely a little PG-13 R-rated. So, be ready. And it's Aubree, Aubree .Nichols, Nichols.
Okay.
And if you're listening to the show or watching the show on YouTube, and you shoot me a DM and just say, hey, I'd love to connect with
Awesome.
listeners or people on the same path as me. It's just beautiful.
Awesome.
I love it. Just before we close, just one last question is that if you could put yourself in my shoes, is there any question that we haven't asked that you would ask yourself?
Oh, sure. Let me say, because this is going to get me off onto my work for the day, which is like, hey, Aubree, what are you working on that you're really excited about?
Yeah. Awesome.
So what is that?
What is it? Great question. I'd like to hear it.
So, great question. I'm so glad you asked. I'm working on a memoir titled Enough: How I Stopped Searching, Starving, and Striving and Became the Woman of My Dreams. So I'm trying to secure an agent right now. It's got a multimedia component because I was so desperate. It sort of turned to my iPhone to document every step along the way. So I'm really excited to bring this book into the world, and I know that I hope that it will touch the hearts and souls of many men and women who have experienced self-loathing. So I'm excited.
I love it. Thank you so much, Aubree, for joining us. It's been a wonderful conversation for me, and I love talking about this stuff. It gets me going.
Thank you for what you're doing and bringing your podcast into the world. Hopefully more and more people will experience love.
I'm right there with you. That's what we're trying to do, spread love. And so anyway, thank you so much, Aubree.
Thank you.
You're so welcome.
This is Sprinkled with Hope. If you liked this episode, please share it with a friend. If you like our podcast, please give us a review or rating.